This past month, Leica sent me the Q3 to try out for the entire month, and I want to talk to you guys a little about why I've grown to love this camera so much.
Oh my.
Let's get into the video. So the first place that I actually went and took photos with the Leica Q3 was the Oregon coast. Obviously, if you know me or follow the channel at all, the Oregon coast is one of my favorite places in the entire world. It's one of my go-to locations for photography, so I had to take the Leica Q3 out there and put it to the test. And I just want to say I was thoroughly impressed. This was my first time using the Leica Q3, getting to test how the camera felt, how it operated, how the menus worked, how the photos looked, and I was very impressed. This was very bright daylight, and usually when you're photographing in bright daylight, it's very harsh, it's really crunchy, and somehow these photos still look really great, and I'm really happy with them. I will say, obviously, the light is still crunchy, but the way that the camera performed, it picked up the details and the shadow details and made the photo not feel so, gross. I really liked it. Also, I got to test out one of the greatest features on this camera, which is the fact that it has a macro lens. So it goes from both a 28mm Summilux lens to a macro lens, and that's just really special in photography. You don't really see that with this kind of high caliber camera. Usually it's just one lens setup. That's all you get. With this, you actually have the ability to focus macro and get these super close up detail shots, and I thought that was really fun to do and a really nice feature to have on the Q3. Later on that afternoon, we actually headed out to the Oregon coast for sunset. I love how these photos turned out. I think that these are some of my favorites from this entire video. As you can see, we started in golden hour. As we were walking down to the beach, I was kind of photographing Steph from behind as she was walking down, and to be able to just kind of point my camera out and take photos and know that the camera was going to grab focus, has great colors, very fast, reliable, and I was just kind of walking with the camera on my hip and firing these photos. And I love how this one specifically turned out with the flare coming right through Stephanie's head, and you see we're going down to the beach. It tells a story. It also has that Dutch angle, so it's, I don't know, there's something about it. It just feels very lifestyle-y, kind of like what we were experiencing in the moment, and I love how this photo specifically came out. As we went down to the beach, the sun just started to really set, and we got these really cool golden blue hour-ish photos and tones, and I think that the Leica Q3 performed exceptionally well in this environment. I mean, it makes the light just look so gorgeous and glowing, and I don't know, just a very cinematic, and I'm really happy with how these photos turned out. Also, the detail on these RAWs is just absolutely spectacular. You can pretty much do whatever you want with the colors, so while I went into editing, I was really able to make the photo feel like my own, even though the RAW and the JPEG on this thing are just special in their own right. I really felt like I had the option to go in there and dial in my exact settings and what I wanted. This is Sam and Jakey, my brother and his girlfriend. They were with us that night, and it was really fun to go down to the beach. As well as my dog, just my absolutely crazy, insane dog named Killua. Yes, after the anime Hunter x Hunter. By this time of the night, I kind of had really gotten a grasp on what the Leica Q3 was about, how it operated, how it felt, and I was just falling more and more in love. Every time I took a photo and looked at the back screen, I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks absolutely amazing. So Leica, you guys did something special with this camera. It's pretty spectacular. Once the sun had actually set, I did take some blue hour photos, which is one of my favorite times to photograph. It's kind of an odd time to take pictures because there's not really a lot of light and everything kind of looks, I don't know, like blue, which is why they call it blue hour. But I think that it makes for some incredible, moody, almost a little nostalgic type of photography. It really makes you feel like you're in the scene and at whatever location it is. Blue hour is just really special to photograph, and I love being able to capture little glimpses of light. So there was the highlight from the car. There's a car behind me, and its lights were on, and it's shining on this log in front of. I don't know. It just gives some sort of ambiance to a photo that you don't really get any other time other than blue hour. There's a bird in my house. Stephanie just texted me. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Literally just fought a bird for an hour trying to get it out of my home, and I successfully got it out unhurt, but it did poop a lot all over the house. So I will have to go clean that up after recording this video. The next week, me and Stephanie drove up to Mount Hood to take some photos, and I have to say, again, incredible experience going up to Mount Hood. It was a beautiful sunshine day in Oregon, and we went up to this place called Trillium Lake, which is a beautiful lake that has Mount Hood in the background. It has a dock you can walk out to. The water is usually really calm, so there's this really beautiful reflection, and I decided that we needed to take the Leica Q3 out and really put it to the test here at Mount Hood. So we were getting the best of both worlds, the Oregon coast and then the Oregon mountains. So that was really fun to do. I want to talk about this photo specifically. This is probably my favorite one from the set. I really love using frames within a frame. So kind of like framing the mountain in between these two dock posts and then having the reflection in the mountain. I think it just helps with some leading lines, kind of bringing you into the mountain and what's in the background. And it just kind of like brings the photo all together rather than just kind of like a static photo of the reflection in the mountain. Not to say that that's not really cool, but I like framing it. Another huge asset that the Leica Q3 has that a lot of the other Leica cameras don't is the video feature. I mean, this camera is fully capable of 422 10-bit L-Log 4K recording. It is leaps and bounds ahead of what the Leica Q2 could do, and I just think it's great to see Leica implementing more of this videography into their camera bodies, because for me personally, I own the Leica M11 and I love that camera. It's my favorite photography camera of all time, but I do think they could have probably added video into that. I understand that like the M11 and the M10 are like photography focused cameras, but I just think it would be nice to include that feature in your camera if you can. So yeah, I don't know. The video is just really nice. It's clean, it's easy to grade, and it's just a great feature to have on the camera. We left Trillium Lake and we drove on these back roads, kind of driving around the back area of Trillium Lake. It was a road that I had never taken that kind of loops around the lake and goes back into these really cool campgrounds. And we drove back there just in time for the sun to set, and we got some really cool photos. I love these photos of these cabins. Like, these were kind of sprinkled throughout the drive, and it was really cool to see that there was like these full-on Forest Service cabins just like in these back roads. It was cool to photograph those. So Mount Hood, hard to beat. After leaving Trillium Lake, we pulled over at this beautiful viewpoint coming down Highway 26 from Mount Hood. It's kind of like this overlook of the valley right before you turn this corner to see Mount Hood in all of its glory. And it was really nice because it was like blue hour, sun had just set, so we were getting some cool gradients in the sky. And I don't know, again, I mentioned it earlier, but this is one of my favorite times to take photographs. And these might be my favorite photos from this whole day going up to Trillium Lake. So I do want to talk a little bit about the specs of this camera briefly. Nothing too crazy. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of like the megapixels and how fast it can shoot and all that stuff, but I just want to say some of the features on the actual body. The cool thing about the Q3 that a lot of cameras don't have is the flip out screen, and we'll get into that later. I kind of want to showcase the M11 compared to the Q3 and give my thoughts and kind of the comparisons on the differences. But I think one of the most standout features that we briefly touched on earlier is the macro feature. They are able to just switch seamlessly between taking a regular style full frame photo and then a full frame macro photo. It's just like really incredible to have that option, and the focus distances having all that variable of like being able to focus super close and super distant, all built into this one camera where the lens is attached to the body, so you don't have to worry about dust getting in the sensor, you don't have to worry about damaging it, switching lenses. It's all there, and then it also has that digital crop, which I honestly didn't use too much, but I will say you can crop in like crazy with this camera. The detail you're able to get from super far away and pulling all the way in, I mean, that just comes back to the megapixels and how great this camera is. I'm not going to go, again, not into that, but yeah, really incredible. So real quick, let's get into how great these buttons actually sound. ASMR starts now. So I wanted to do a little bit of a comparison between the Leica Q3 and the Leica M11. A lot of you guys know that this is like one of my favorite cameras that I've ever owned. Well, Leica sent me the Leica Q3 to try out. This has a 28mm zoom lens. Incredible camera, point and shoot, fixed 28mm. I mean, this camera is insane. But I wanted to do a little bit of a comparison size-wise between the two cameras. And if you look, they're pretty much identical sizes. The M11 may be a little bit tinier, but what the Q3 has that the M11 does not. Q3 is a flip out screen, which is, didn't realize how much I needed the flip out screen until I started playing around with this. Also, the Q3 does incredible video. It shoots 4K, L-Log, 422, 10-bit video. With that being said, there's also input options now for the Q3, mini HDMI, and then a USB-C for charging and other things. They both produce incredible images. Leica M11, Leica Q3, which one would you guys rather have? Comment down below. Let's get back to taking some photos. So I actually took the Leica Q3 back out to the Oregon coast. This time I was kind of driving around to some more unknown areas of the Oregon coast that I usually don't go to. This place was called Point Mears, and it was a huge surprise for me. When I pulled up to this location, my jaw dropped to the floor. It's basically this beautiful cape that goes out into the ocean, and then you have a beach that's like pretty private. I don't think a lot of people go to this location because it's not super easily accessible, especially from the Portland area. So we really took advantage of this and kind of walked out onto this beach and let Kilauea run around and take some photos. To be honest, I took a lot of film photos out here, but I did take a couple photos on the Leica Q3 as well as some video. Wait, turn it. Oh, look at that. That's good. There's a turn here in Rose End, and it is the best turn on the Oregon coast. Come around this corner, and then right in front of you is just endless views. You can almost see Japan from here.
The best view ever.
It really is. We headed back to the beach house for the night, and I just want to briefly touch on my new obsession, which is Magic the Gathering. I never thought I would get back into Magic the Gathering because I played it when I was like 15, but now I am obsessed with it again. So that's just a whole side note. I got this new deck, and I'm excited to start playing Commander. Any Magic nerds in the comments, leave your deck down below. As the sun was setting, there was actually some deer right below our deck, and I really wanted to try and go feed them. So I tried to take the bread downstairs and feed this deer, but it was not having any of it. I just wanted to highlight, look at the colors from this night. I mean, I love the grade on this footage and just the way that the sunsets in this city. It's just Oregon coast it's so hard to beat. I did take some photos from the deck that night, and these are really spectacular. I mean, the Leica Q3 shines in all lighting conditions, but specifically when you have good lighting, like golden hour or blue hour or anything like that, the camera just shines in all of its glory. And from the mist that you're able to get, the rays that it was able to capture, specifically on this photo, you're getting these crazy rays coming through the trees, and I think that just the leading line of the road and then the sun being kind of centered in the background, I think this might be my favorite photo from the entire set. It's definitely going in my portfolio, and I think it's a great keeper to have, probably going on the website. I also love this one where you have kind of that orange haze mist coming off of the glow from the coastline, and then you see like the fog rolling over in the background, as well as like the shadow from like sunset, and it's just like an all in all really nostalgic feeling photo, and I loved the raw from this photo. I could do so much with it, and I was able to kind of color correct this photo exactly how I wanted it to be. Also, this was Father's Day, so happy Father's Day, Dad. I'm very glad I got to spend the day with you. So on one of my last nights on the coast, we actually drove out a little bit north of Pacific City and found this really beautiful beach that we were able to drive out onto, and I just was kind of mind blown as to how beautiful the sunset was this night. And the opportunity to drive your car down onto the beach is something that's becoming harder and harder to find. It's kind of like one of those things, like one person screws it up for the rest of us. So please be kind and generous when you go down to the coast. Clean up after yourself, leave it better than when you went down there, and don't be an idiot, because these photos, like, I would not have been able to get these photos if it wasn't for the opportunity to go down to the Oregon coast. So this one was my favorite. I had gotten out of the car and Steph had gotten out of the car as well, and I kind of just like saw this Kawanda rock in the distance, and I had to take a photo, kind of like, again, using the frame of a, this is almost like a frame and a frame and a frame. It's kind of like the car's a frame and the car window's a frame, and then you have like the actual photo in the background. I don't know, this is definitely a portfolio for me, and it's going on the website for sure. Once again, the Leica just kind of showing off its colors and how great it can capture these like really nice, moody, lit scenes. And I must say, Stephanie's gotten pretty good at photography. She took some good photos of me with my Q3, and she also shot most of the B-roll on this whole trip. So.
Let me get on this side. Look at this.
Tell us more.
Holy. The water with the car in the foreground. This whole situation.
Guys, he just walks away and fake takes photos out there. It's pretty funny. I want you to go back and listen to my
Your commentary?
my commentary.
This photo really showcases the macro feature on the Leica Q3. Be able to get this close to the window and actually get the like dirt grime of the window in focus. I really like that it shows, I don't know, like the environment of where we're at, like the saltiness and the moodiness and the glow from the sun. I don't know, I really feel like this photo kind of embodies what we were experiencing while we were there. So that's kind of it. That was most of my experience with the Leica Q3. I will say that I did take the camera out to Houston to visit some family, and we got stuck in my first tornado of my life. It was one of the craziest experiences ever. And I wasn't able to charge a lot of my camera gear, but I did capture these videos with the Leica Q3 and then these photos as well. The sunsets we were getting were like mind-boggling. They don't look real even with the raw photos. So like editing them, I was like, these look so fake, but this is really what the sunsets look like when you get that crazy tornado storm coming in and then it clears afterwards. It was madness. So that was a really crazy experience, but thankfully everyone was all right. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I appreciate you checking it out. The Leica Q3 is an incredible camera, and I have grown to love this thing so much. I'm gonna stop this video because I'm holding up a really heavy camera rig with one arm and I'm shaking. So thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Oh my god, it's so heavy.